Even if one believes that 19 hijackers, not from Iraq, Iran, or Afghanistan, but Saudi Arabia, were responsible for the events of September 11th, it would seem wise for us to at least hold the airport security responsible for letting those men board the plane. The airport security was handled by an Israeli company called ICTS. Ezra Harrell, a Jew, is the owner. The company is registered in the Netherlands and was employed at Charles de Gaulle Airport to screen passengers boarding U.S. planes. Most of its personnel are ex-Shin Bet officers. Is ICTS's security really that shoddy? ICTS's own website states that it sells services to every airport from which the hijacked planes on 9/11 operated, including security services, and this is sometimes done through wholly owned subsidiaries like Huntley USA Corporation. It has been suggested that the incredible feat of hijacking 4 aircraft without a single arrest at the gate would require the resources of a nation-state. This is even more true with the revelation that at least one gun had managed to board a hijacked plane. One company had automatic inside access to all of the airports from which hijacked planes departed on 9/11, and to the airports used by Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, an Israeli company, one that Mossad agents could easily find employment with without the management knowing who they were or what their purpose really was. As an additional note to ICTS's complicity, hours before the House version of the first so-called Patriot Act went to a vote, technical corrections, quote-unquote, were inserted into the body of the legislation whereby foreign security companies, such as ICTS International, would be immune from lawsuits related to the events of 9/11. Talk about not being available for deposition. This Patriot Act legislation sleight of hand occurred before the inception of the 9/11 Commission, when fearless leader George W. Bush was still resisting the very idea of an investigation into 9/11. Hence, in the face of an institutional cover-up, citizens were denied the possibility of a discovery process which is normally afforded to litigants. Without such discovery process, ICTS International would never be compelled by a court of law to give testimony and show evidence related to the missing airport video surveillance tapes of 9/11 or any other aspect of security measures in place. Kenneth Feinberg set up the Victims' Compensation Fund. This was a treasure chest of some $7 billion in taxpayer money that would be forked out to the victims of the Israeli 9/11 attack. Since undoubtedly many families lost their primary breadwinner on 9/11, they had a choice between a sizable payout or a long drawn-out investigation with little to no guarantee of success if they chose to pursue legal action against the airlines and the passenger screening security companies. Thus, 97% of eligible victims' families waive their rights to litigate against the government, the airlines, and the security companies responsible for passenger screening at the airports. This prevented any discoveries that could be made via legal battle in the courts for nearly every relative of a victim of 9/11.
Ellen Mariani lost her husband, Louis Neil Mariani, on 9/11. Louis Neil Mariani was on United Flight 175. Ellen Mariani is going to court because she believes her husband is a victim of the biggest government conspiracy in U.S. history. And she's not alone. Ellen Mariani has become a hero to those who feel that the U.S. government let 9/11 happen, or even planned it.
Do I feel that the government deliberately did this in our country where our loved ones were killed? Yes.
My client, Ellen Mariani, was the first person who filed the lawsuit, and she was the last person to hold out, the last person to basically be forced to settle because of the fact that when she objected to the settlement that was struck in her name by this probate administrator who took over from her, she was rejected at every step of the way in the federal court.
Judge Hellerstein, age 73, is also a longtime member of the Jewish Center of New York and a former president of the Board of Jewish Education of Greater New York. This raises the obvious question about why, in the 9/11 terror case in which an Israeli security company is a key defendant and in which individuals from Israeli military intelligence are suspected of being involved, was Hellerstein chosen to present preside over all 9/11 victim lawsuits. And who chose him? Judge Alvin Hellerstein has stated, quote, "There is an extraordinary public benefit in having these cases resolved and not allowing through them the wounds of 9/11 suffered by our entire society to keep festering." Hellerstein's mission was to quickly resolve the cases. The rush to case resolution was to eliminate all threats of legal investigations by means of more payouts. To this hour, not a single plaintiff's day in court to present evidence in a trial has come to fruition.
And the federal appellate court sanctioned me and sanctioned Ellen Mariani as well. Called us, found us, made findings that we were anti-Semitic. And what we had done was just lay out the facts that there were these connections between Judge Hellerstein's son, who was a lawyer in Tel Aviv, Israel, and his law firm, and some people who controlled ICTS and who were also joint ventures with Boeing